Hi, George here. And I was recently asked if Photoshop Elements has anything like the presets over in Adobe's Lightroom program, and if you can download presets from online. Unfortunately, you can't download presets into Photoshop Elements without adding in an external plugin, which costs more than the Elements program in the first place, so not really a good option. But there are some built-in presets here inside of Photoshop Elements that you can use that work basically the same way that the Lightroom presets work. And to use those, we have to use the Camera Raw editor, which basically runs like Adobe's Lightroom program. So I'll close this image down. There we go. Go up here to File, and then open in Camera Raw. And I'll open this image back up again here in the Camera Raw editor. And notice how this is a separate editing program that's sitting on top of Photoshop Elements in the background. If you want to, you can maximize this so it fills the whole screen. I normally just leave mine at that floating setting in here. Now in the Camera Raw editor, if you go over here where it says Profile, Camera Raw comes with a bunch of profiles, and these run basically the same way as presets run. They do the same thing. Click on Browse. This brings up the whole list of profiles in here. This is divided up into sections: Favorites, Basic, Artistic, Black and White, Modern, and Vintage. Favorites is a custom section. Add anything from these sections down here into the Favorites section. Now notice how these things work. As I roll over one of these profiles, it then sets those settings on the image. Now the presets over in Lightroom are designed as being the end result. You find a preset you like and you're done. You can always go back and do additional editing from those presets, but basically the concept is you find a good preset and you're all finished. It's a real fast way to work. Over here in Elements, the idea is you find a profile you like, and this is a starting point for additional editing or additional adjustments. So because of that, there aren't as many profiles here as there are presets in Lightroom, and they're designed as a starting point and not as a finishing point. Aside from that, these do work exactly the same way. They will adjust your image to a preset setting. So here's some favorites. Come on here. Basic has just two. Color, this is a basic color starting point, and monochrome is a basic black and white starting point. Now below that, we have artistic, and there are a bunch of these. It goes clear down to number 8. And with the artistic, they are basically color changes in here. There is some contrast adjustments, but it's basically a color change, which would be more of an artistic look or artistic change. That's almost a sepia tone in there. Again, if you like something, you want to add it to your favorites, just click on this little star right here. It then adds it into the favorites section. Black and white is a whole bunch. I think there's 10 in here or more. Let's see. We have 12 plus blue, green, yellow, orange, and red filters down here. All different ways of looking at your image, the black and white look. And if you look at the histogram up here, each one is changing the histogram around to give you different black and white effects. And these are based on color and values and tone and so forth. I tried finding a list of what each one of these does specifically, but I couldn't find that. Adobe doesn't list that. Nobody else has that listed. So all you can really do is come in here and just roll over these and see which one you like best. And that's the easiest way anyway. Just take a look and see if you like that. I'd like a bit more contrast. I think this looks pretty nice right here. To set in one of these, simply click on it. The bottom bar here gets highlighted, and that lets you know that that's one that is currently selected. Once you select a profile, you can come in and adjust the amount with our slider control, more to the right and less to the left, so you can fine tune how much of that is being applied. And you can just type in a number if you want to. 100 is centered. Here are the modern looks. Now these are looks that are based on modern styles, modern sensibilities. So these can be updated every year or so with the new Camera Raw. Every time Elements comes out with a new version, it also gets a new version of Camera Raw. And these sometimes will change a little bit depending upon what's currently popular in fashion magazines, advertising, those kinds of uses for images. And then finally, we have the vintage section, which are more traditional looks. Some of these are pretty drastic shifts. Like this is pretty magenta right here. This one is pretty yellow. That just has a bit more contrast to it. But these are more of your traditional looks in here in the vintage section. Not really old-fashioned looks, just more traditional looks. You could say that Elements does have presets, just like Lightroom, just not as many, and you can't download new presets. But this will get you very close. Let's choose one of these. Click on the back button, and then come down to Basic section, and go from here and make additional adjustments in here with your tint temperature, your exposure settings, and your color settings. When you're happy with the setting, you can take this over into the regular Elements program by clicking on Open, or you can open it as a copy. I recommend opening as a copy. This way, it doesn't set this setting permanently onto your image, which will happen. So always open as a copy. That way your original stays intact, doesn't get changed. Or make a copy first and then open that copy up in Camera Raw. And again, no problem. You always want to be working on a copy when you're using Camera Raw. So I'll click on Open as Copy. Here we go. And this comes in with those settings. And I can then continue to work in here inside of Photoshop Elements with whatever else I want to do. I have more information about the profiles over in the HTG Photo Coach. Just go over there, do a search for Camera Raw profile, and you'll find a couple of 3 pages about these. If you don't have that program, I'll put a link for that in the description. It's a text-based program that answers all those questions that you may have about how to use Photoshop Elements and goes into much more detail than I normally do here in these videos. So it's a great additional program to work along with video training or just with your regular working inside of Photoshop Elements. A great place to learn. You can kind of think of it as a more powerful interactive help system. If you're new to Photoshop Elements and you want to learn more about how to use all the tools and panels and everything in here in the program, the best place to do that is with my complete training course. And I'll put a link for that in the description as well. Don't forget to hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't already done so you don't miss any new videos in the future. I'm doing new videos all the time. And I'll see you next time.